Hi there, I hope you're well and looking forward to Supple Strength 103. So we're going to use the ball and some weights with this program. As you can see, we're going to use the ball underneath our bottom and underneath our waist for a couple of Pilates moves, and then we're going to use the weights to strengthen through the shoulders and the rotator cuff. Don't worry if you don't have this equipment though. You can use a cushion instead of a ball, and you can use a tin of beans instead of some weights. So this program is aimed at beginners to level 1 or those who want to take it a little bit easier. Let's start by mobilizing through the body then. Let's roll the shoulders to start with, both forwards and backwards. We'll gently turn the head from side to side. And we'll circle out through the feet, bending the knees as well. Okay, placing those heels directly underneath the hips, we'll set the pelvis in neutral. Make sure you've got a natural curve to your lower back. Core muscles are engaged, pelvic floor zipped up. Remember, you can sink back into imprint when we lie on the floor, and maybe you've got two legs in the air. That just secures the back a little better, makes the core muscles switch on well. Pelvic floor needs to be zipped up as well, and rib cage drawn down. Shoulders are always rolled back, the neck is lengthened. Try and keep that neck as long as you can all the time by keeping the chin tucked under towards the throat. Let's just go through a breathing then, just a reminder. We need to breathe into the rib cage so that your core muscles can stay switched on all the time. So as you breathe in through the nose, feel the chest expand. As you breathe out through the mouth, let your ribs and chest deflate as the lungs empty. We'll practice this breathing a few times. Aim to maintain this breathing throughout the class. That'll keep the vital oxygen feeding through to the muscles and the core muscles switched on. Okay, moving on then. We're going to take the feet just a fraction wider. Keep the core muscles switched on. Keep the heels down on the floor. Breathe in, sweep the arms up. Bob down, sweep the arms back and forth. This is called a monkey swing. Breath out as you bob down. Breathe in as you lift up, trying not to arch the back. And also see here how the knees do not collapse inwards. Press those feet down into the floor. The back stays straight, it's the bottom that lowers. Try not to fold your chest forwards too far. A couple more then, just to fully wake up through the whole body. And then release the arms down by your sides. We'll just swing the upper body from side to side to loosen out through the waist and let your breathing come back down to normal. Still with the warm-up then, we're going to do a big breath in and then stretch to the side. So sweep up, take a hold of the right hand, pull it over to the left, and if you wish, you can step the right foot behind you. That'll just extend that stretch down the right side of the body a little bit more. And then we'll do the same with the left. So big breath in, take a hold of the hand, pull it over, and step behind if you wish to increase that stretch a tad more. Into our balance now. I'd like you to plug your right foot into the floor. Lengthen up through the legs, switch core muscles on, focus the eyes in front. Place the other foot somewhere on the inside of the leg. The harder option, of course, is to tuck the heel up into your inner thigh. Settle your mind and core, bring your hands to prayer. Stay with prayer if you wish. If you want to challenge yourself, feel free to sweep those arms up, but keep the shoulders down, even though the arms are lifting up. Stare those eyes, settle your mind in breathing. Make sure you keep your core muscles switched on. Gently melting down then, give that left leg a shake. And then we'll do the other side. Stare those eyes, core muscles in, take the foot to an appropriate place on the inside of the leg for you and your level. If you're a bit wobbly, that foot might be quite close to the floor. Taking the hands into prayer. Or keep the shoulders down, sweep those arms up, a little bit more of a challenge. Settle the mind, keep the core switched on and breathe. And melt down. Give Give the leg a little shake. We're going to go to the back of the mat now. We're going to do a few roll downs. We'll stretch through the spine. Remember, the heels need to be underneath the hip bones. We're starting in neutral. Breathe in at the top. As you exhale, slowly collapse your upper body forwards. Allow the fingertips to fall towards the floor. Keep the tummy scooped up all of the time, remember. Don't worry if you can't reach the floor, and by all means just soften those knees if the hamstrings become too tight. Keep the tummy scooped though all the time. And then we'll slowly restack the spine, one vertebrae at a time. Using your core muscles, restack the ribs, melt the shoulders and the head comes up last. Breathe in at the top. Exhale. Same again. Collapse the arms and shoulders forwards, chin on the chest. Allow the head and arms to hang loosely from your shoulders. Weights dropping down into the top of the head as you hang upside down. Remember, you can bend the knees if you need to. Using the core again, we're going to restack. Imagine the tummy muscles replacing the spine, but sense the spine is looser and more fluid now as you've become taller at the top. Same again, breathe in at the top. Chin to chest, collapse down. Keep breathing naturally. In through the nose, out through the mouth, remember. And this time we're going to come down to the floor on hands and knees for our press-ups. So easiest level, knees under the hips, back is straight, hands wider than your mat. Tummy muscles are in. Nose pitches forwards, just in front of the fingertips. Try not to let yourself drop backwards, but see how the back is nice and straight, elbows bent at a right angle. Stronger ones, you can bring the body weight forwards with the hands and do a 3/4 press up instead. Breathing in on the way down, breathing out as you press your way back up. Tummy muscles strong. Do as many as you can here, but keep it smooth and slow. Okay, bringing the hands back onto the mat then, curl the toes under. As you exhale, we're going to lift up into downward facing dog. So this is where we're trying to straighten off through the spine as much as we can. But you might find the back of the legs a little on the tight side, so do walk those heels up and down a few times if that helps to loosen up through the legs. Press the hands forwards. You're trying to press your chest towards your toes all the time. So remember to breathe. Always breathe out to extend. Try not to collapse between the shoulders. See how the arms are level with the ears, but of course the arms shouldn't be touching the ears. Then we're going to come forwards into plank. You're welcome to put those knees down if that suits you better. But do keep the back and the torso nice and straight, the shoulders away from the ears, the neck nice and long. As you next breathe out, lift your bottom up high using your core muscles. Gently press back into downward facing dog. Remember to breathe. Moving on, we're going to melt the knees to the floor. We're going to bring the right foot forwards. Curl the left toes under, lift the knee up. Place that foot at a diagonal behind you and bring yourself to standing. Now your hips and shoulders should be facing the short edge of the mat, the same with the right knee and toes, and the right knee is above the heel, not in front. When you're ready, if you wish, you're going to lift those arms up to the ceiling, but you must draw those shoulders down. Keep the core muscles zipped up, shoulders above the hips. If you're not sure on the shoulders, actively shrug them up and push them back down again. Feel that lovely stretch through the left hip flexor and the strength running through the right thigh. Keep breathing, stay strong and firm. Next we're going into warrior two. So turn to the long side of the mat. Wriggle that right foot across slightly, knee above the heel. Try not to lunge the body forwards over that bent leg. Keep the shoulders above the hips. Neck nice and long and straight. You can look and stare past your fingers if you wish on the right hand side and just double check that knee, the right knee, is pointing in the same direction as the toes. Keep breathing. This is a little add-on if you want to. Just flowing from side to side with the upper body. Really challenges the core, mobilizes through the thoracic spine as well. Notice how the legs and the hips stay perfectly still. And then we'll sink back into Warrior Two. We'll release the arms now, and you might want to bring that back foot forwards just a little bit. Just wriggle the foot, heel and toes, and then the right foot needs to wriggle its way back over to the right. Turning those hips and shoulders to face the short edge of the mat again. Straighten both legs, tummy in. Fold yourself forward, walking your hands down your legs. Some of you might be able to reach the floor. Others might be quite happy to lace the fingers up behind your back and straighten the arms, creating a shoulder and chest stretch as well. It's a strong stretch for the front leg, so do take care. Keep the hands on the leg if you need to. Next, we're simply going to come down to the floor and pivot round to go to the other side. So you've got your left foot forwards now. Curl the right toes under, lift the knee up. Bring yourself up to standing. Hips and shoulders facing the short edge of the mat, same as the left knee and toes. And that left knee is above the heel, most definitely not in front of. You can see mine's a little behind, that's fine. But knee in front of heel is not fine. Once again, core muscles wrap around your center. The shoulders are drawn down once you've lifted your fingers up to the sky. Keep breathing. Stay strong in your core. Feel that lovely long stretch in the right hip flexor. Into Warrior Two now. Drop the arms to shoulder height. Wriggle that left foot forward slightly so the heel is in line with the arch of the right foot. Your knee again is above the heel, and again you're not lunging forwards. Eyes can stare into the distance past those left fingers. It also gives you an opportunity to look down towards the knee as well. Okay, we're going to go into that flow now if you wish. See how the hips and the legs stay perfectly still. We're working through the waist, mobilizing the middle of the back, sweeping the arms like a palm tree. And then we'll sink and settle back into Warrior Two briefly. Before going back into single leg forward fold. For this we need to shorten our stride, so bring the back foot forward slightly. Wriggle that left foot back over to the left. We straighten both legs, hips and shoulders face the short edge of the mat. Tuck the tummy in. The hands can walk down the leg. They can perhaps go to the floor. For others, you can do that chest stretch again if you wish. Remember to breathe. Allow the length to run down the back of that front leg. Okay, we're going to come down to the floor now, so release the back knee. Take the left leg back and settle back into a child's pose. So we're going to come down to the floor now. You might need a cushion underneath your head. We're going to do basic lift. Just make sure you've got plenty of space so that you can stretch your arms and legs. And then we'll settle into neutral, core muscles switched on. Remember, you can sink into imprint if you wish. This tilts the back into the floor. It forces the core muscles to work a little harder, secures your back, and definitely make sure that the back does not arch. Just showing you there, knees at a right angle, heels in line with the hips, knees and toes pointing forwards, and your fingertips on top of your hip bones with your chin tucked under. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you exhale, gently float one foot off the floor, hover the knee above the hip, breathe in to replace the foot back to the floor, and then do the same with the other leg. Make sure the feet go back to exactly the same spot on the mat every single time. They mustn't come close to your bottom. And your knees come back to above your hips, no further back. So as you do this one, make sure your back stays neutral, your core muscles stay switched on, and the pelvis stays still. Try not to allow your pelvis to tilt from side to side. If you find you can stable your pelvis, float one leg, breathe in, prepare, breathe out, float the other leg as well. But there shouldn't be a sudden jolt or a reaction as the second foot comes into the air. You can see here I'm taking one leg up, one leg down, other leg down, and simply replacing and repeating that move all the way through. Nothing's happening to my core or my back. Everything is staying still. There's no reaction or shift. And as you can see, I've relaxed my hands down by the sides, Makes it a little bit more difficult, good for those who are confident with what they're doing. Slightly harder, you can cross your arms over your chest. Remember to breathe out to float the legs and breathe in to lower. Here's a slightly more challenging level where you lengthen the legs forwards. You always come back to that lengthened position. This is your single leg version for those that just want to stick with doing one leg at a time. Feet come back to that lengthened position. The feet are much higher in the air than usual. Knees still above the hips. And here's your two-leg version. Same rules all apply. Double check that core muscles are strong enough to keep your torso perfectly still, either in neutral or in imprint, as you float one leg and then the other. Shoulders must remain relaxed. Your hands must not grip the floor for this move. So if you do have your hands by your side, do make sure you turn the palms up towards the ceiling. Remember to breathe out to float, breathe in to lower. Okay, nice long stretch to finish that one off. Give those hips a bit of a rub and a stretch if they need it. We're going to use them again for the next move. This is called the single to double leg stretch. It has exactly the same starting position. So heels in line with the hips, knees and toes pointing forwards, and your pelvis is in neutral. Once again, you can use imprint if you go to the harder levels. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, gently float one leg into the usual position. We'll breathe in, prepare, breathe out and stretch the lifted leg forwards. Pull the belly button back so the back does not arch. Breathe in to bring the knee back to above the hip. Breathe out to stretch the leg forwards again. An easier version will be to send the leg higher up. A harder version will be to send the leg lower down. The lower the leg goes, the harder it is for your core muscles to keep the back in neutral. I'm going to add the arms on now. As the leg presses forward, the arms are going to float backwards, but keep the rib cage down, keep the shoulders away from your ears. We breathe in to bring the arms and leg back, breathe out to lengthen again. Notice how the hands do not touch the floor behind you, and see how the shoulders are not risen up towards the ears. Hopefully you can see there that my shoulders are simply rotating through the shoulder joint. Here's another little add-on for you. Biting into those upper abdominal muscles, you curl the rib cage and head off the floor. Fingers point to the ceiling this time. Your back will naturally flatten, and your eyes should constantly look down towards your tummy or leg area. The torso stays lifted for this level. We don't come up and down. Chin should be comfortable on top of your chest. Okay, so this is your easier level. Staying with one leg at a time. Those that want to, you're going to carry on and use the other leg, just as we've done for the first leg. For those that want to do the double leg version, breathe out to float one leg, breathe in, prepare, and breathe out to gently float the other. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, stretch the right leg and two arms. Keep everything tight and connected. Breathe in to return those limbs. Breathe out to stretch the left leg and two arms. Now take care here. A lot of people accidentally scissor the legs and send one away as the other's coming back. Try and remember to send one leg away, bring it all back, then send the other leg with both arms again. And also remember, fingers and toes reach in opposite directions. Here's that add-on again. As you can see, fingers point to the ceiling, your back is flattened, the legs are doing exactly the same as they were before. Your chin should be comfortably propped up on your chest, and your eyes look down towards your tummy. Try and lengthen the arms and the legs as much as you can, challenging the core to press the back down, either in neutral, if your head and shoulders are down, or maybe imprint. There we go. Hug the legs into the chest, maybe rock from side to side if you wish. And then I'd like you to roll yourself up to seated. Take yourself onto all fours. We're going to do the tabletop now. So hands under shoulders, knees under hips. That's quite crucial. You need to come back to this every single time. Your back is flattened, so just tuck your bottom under a slight Core your muscles in and flatten off across those shoulders. We'll breathe in, prepare. Breathe out, slide right fingers and left toes away. Lift fingers and toes if you feel balanced, and then breathe in to melt down and slide them back. You're going to do the same with the other two sides. Slide, float if you wish, melt down and slide back. Changing over to the other two sides very subtly. So here's the wrong version. Try not to overreach. When we lengthen through the arm, the shoulder has to stay down away from the ear. You don't want to lift the shoulder to the ear when you reach the arm. Keep that shoulder pulled down and just roll and rotate through that shoulder joint. Off we go again. So lengthen and come back, lengthen and come back. Try and think of this not as two separate moves, but as one continuous, and that might help you to keep that changeover very subtle and very smooth. Breathing out to lengthen, breathe in to return. I'm going to do an add-on now. Slide and float and take the arm and leg out to the side. It should be a sideways pull, but the body shouldn't follow. I'll show you from the front. Lengthen, see how the limbs go out to the side, but the body doesn't follow. Core muscles lock in, keep it nice and firm. See if you can add that on. If you find your body follows, so maybe your shoulders might follow the arm, bring it back, work on this level a little bit more. There we go. Push your bottom back to your heels. Do stretch out through the wrists and the hands if you feel you need to. We're going to lie on our front now, and we're going to do the dart, and then we're going to add on with a breaststroke kind of movement, so you might need to double check you've got space in front of your head. So the neck stays long, chin stays tucked under, the legs stay relaxed throughout this move, core muscles are switched on, hands rest down by your thighs with your palms facing upwards. I'd like you to breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, reach your hands down the sides of the thighs. Square off through the shoulders, tighten into the lower back. You should find that your chest will float. Keep your chin tucked under though. So think of that chain reaction. As the hands reach, the shoulders tighten together and come down your back. That tightens and wraps around your waist, forcing your chest to float. You're not expected to come up a great deal. It's just a float and a lengthen, always lengthening through the neck. Adding on with a breaststroke now, reach the arms forwards when you're down on the floor. As you breathe out, reach back and tighten across your shoulders and down into your lower back. And this will allow you still to lift through the lower back, the chest floating from the floor, but you'll work through those shoulders a lot more. Do try and keep your hands and arms clear off the floor. Remember, you're breathing in to reach forwards when you're down, breathing out to float and reach back. Melting down then, let's do a cat stretch just to stretch out across the shoulders and down into your lower back. And then we're going to go on to our back with the ball. We're going to do a move called the supported back cycle. So the ball goes underneath your lower back, almost underneath your bottom. Should force your pelvis to be tilted backwards. Your heels are underneath your knees and your hands rest on the floor. Here's an option for you in the top right. You can use a cushion instead of the ball. So if you don't have a ball or don't want to use the ball, use a cushion. Everything else is the same. So we're going to bring one knee into the chest. We'll breathe in, breathe out, slide the foot forwards, lift the leg up. The challenge is the core muscles lifting that straight leg all the way up. Do make sure you're cycling backwards. Now you can make this a little more challenging by taking the hands to the tummy or crossing the arms over the chest. This means you're on the head and the shoulders and your bottom is on the ball. Keep the circles smooth, slow and continuous, challenging the core to lift that straight, heavy leg. If you cannot get your foot to the floor to slide, I might suggest that you need a cushion or come down to the floor instead. So we're going to move over to the other leg. For those that want to stay with single leg, of course, we'll do the other leg in exactly the same way. However, there is a double leg move for those that want to. So you're going to take both feet off the floor. Right leg pointing backwards, left leg pointing forwards. Bend the right, lift the left, slide the right. Bend the left, lift the right, slide the left. Bend, lift, slide. Bend, lift, slide. Bend, lift, slide. See how both legs are working continuously in opposition of each other. Once again, hands can go to the tummy, or if you're really daring, cross the arms over the chest. See if you can contain the legs and stay balanced on the ball. Remember to keep breathing. Cycling the legs backwards, using the core. Remember to breathe. And there we go. Pop your feet down on the floor. Push into the feet to lift your bottom up. Take that ball out of the way. And then we'll come up to seated. We're going to stay with the ball. I could lay over on your right hand side. Put the ball in between your ribs and hips on that side. You're going to lay over the ball. Both legs will be straight with your top leg in front. The wider the feet are, the easier it is. And just make sure that if you do need to bend the knees, don't let your hips sink back. Hips have to point to the ceiling. That right arm needs to come out of the way. Rest onto your right shoulder. Left hand goes in front. Core muscles are drawn in. As you exhale, push down with the hand, lift up through the shoulder. As you can see, top left, here's your alternative if you don't want to use a ball or don't have one. The cushion can go underneath your waist. You're not likely perhaps to be able to get that hand on top of the thigh if you're using a cushion, but you can still do the move and it still feels quite powerful. So we're working the upper side of the waist here. You can see that on the original version I've got my hand on my thigh. Another version, slightly more difficult, will be to take fingers to the ear, elbow points to the ceiling, tightening into the waist to lift the shoulder off the floor. This is quite a challenging one. Don't worry too much if you feel this one through the neck and shoulder area. That's quite common. Just basically means your brain doesn't know which muscles to recruit, and it's just going to the easiest, quickest route. In time, you should be able to manipulate the muscles that your body uses. So we're going to take the ball out from underneath us now, and we're going to set ourselves up for oyster or the clam. So hips level, core muscles switched on. We're simply opening and closing the knees. Squeezing into your bottom. Notice how the hips are not falling back when we do this move. Another version is to lift the feet into the air and then repeat the same movements, opening and closing at the knees. Bottom knee will stay in contact with the floor. Everything else is the same. The hips mustn't roll back. You simply get a greater range of movement by having the feet in the air. Working deep into the glutes with this move. When you're done, drop the knee in front, keep it relaxed, let the hips stretch. We're simply going to go to the other side now. So for that side lift move, the ball or your cushion goes underneath the waist. Both legs are straight, ideally. Hips point to the ceiling, and the wider the feet are, the more stability you will get. So drop the shoulder to the floor, take the hand to the top shoulder, other hand in front, core muscles are switched on, press into the hand, float the shoulder away from the floor. Keep breathing, lifting up, Slowly going back down. Here are the add-ons then, the extras. That hand, if you feel ready for it, can go to the thigh. So it's no longer assisting. Tightening into that waist to float the shoulder. Slightly more difficult, of course, you can take the fingertips to the ear, elbow points to the ceiling. Just adds on a little bit more weight by moving the position of that arm. Belly button in. Breathe out to float up. Breathe in to go down. Melting down then, let's do oyster or clam for the other side. Prop your head up in your hand, bending both knees in. Hips pointing to the ceiling, remember. You could imagine you've got a cup of tea resting on top of your hip maybe. Core muscles in to help lock the pelvis in place. We simply open and close the knee, working deep into the glutes. That's your bottom muscles. There are 3 glute muscles altogether, wrapping around that hip joint. We're working the innermost glutes with this move. And there we go, we can do that add-on as well. Taking the feet off the floor allows the top knee to lift higher, working a little deeper into the glutes. Remember to breathe. Keep the move slow and controlled. Okay, and when you're done, relax down, bring that knee in front, give that hip a little rest. So we're going to go on our back for the next move. It's called the bridge. If you've got a ball, you're welcome to put the ball between the knees. This helps to activate the inner thighs, helps to keep those knees in line. Heels underneath the knees, pelvis in neutral, core muscles are switched on, hands rest by your sides. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, tilt the pelvis backwards, lift the tailbone from the floor, squeeze the tummy muscles to lift the pelvis up, don't use your bottom, and lift those hips and body up into a straight line. Breathe in and roll the spine back down in exactly the same way. Try and imagine you're a caterpillar moving through each segment of your spine. Tilting up, peeling up, rolling back down and tilting back into neutral. So we're trying to create as much movement as we possibly can with that initial pelvic tilt. We're trying to use our tummy muscles to pick the spine up. So the core muscles will pick the pelvis up, and the pelvis in turn will lift each and every segment of the spine up. Once you're lifted, you can add on by swinging those arms back and forth without letting the body drop. You'll only do about 4 or 5 swings, then you'd roll the spine back down again. You can repeat again the same, or you can do this little add-on. I'm going to lift the heels up off the floor. Breathe in, prepare, breathe out, tilt back. You might well find it's easier to peel up. Remember, you're using your core, not your bottom. Lifting up, pinching the ball, floating the arms back and forth if you wish. It's a little more challenging through those legs. Different muscles are being recruited because of the foot position. Melt the arms down before you roll the spine down, using your core all the way through. And then next time through, we'll lift the balls of the feet up and do exactly the same. Breathe out, tilt back. You might find it's harder to lift the balls of the feet up off the floor. Again, you can stay up, you can swing the arms if you wish, or you can come straight back down. Choice is yours. Next time through, make it more interesting. Lift the heel of one foot and the ball of the other foot. Tilt back, peel up. Float the arms if you wish. Remember, using your core muscles to lift. You shouldn't be gripping the bottom and thighs. Of course, whatever we do with one side, we must do with the other. So next time round, you'll swap those feet over. Tilt back, peel up. Add the arms if you wish. Stay locked into the core to keep the hips lifted. Whilst you're concentrating on other things, the brain might accidentally allow those hips to drop. Try not to let that happen. Okay, we're going to pop the ball to the side now. Legs into the chest, give yourself a little rock from side to side. Coming up to seated, we're going to grab those weights and then we're going to lie ourselves back down on the floor. You can use a pillow underneath your head for this one. So we're going to do windows, working through the shoulder joint and rotator cuffs. Now look at my wrists. Do not let the hands drop back. Keep the back of the wrists nice and straight. We're going to take the elbows out to the side. Rotate backwards, lengthen behind, bring the hands back up to the sky. Notice how there's right angles at the elbows. So when we bend, the elbows go out to the side and the hands are above the elbows. Then we rotate to send the back of the hands towards the floor. Lengthening the arms behind us to finish. Now this is an add-on. If you want to challenge your core, if you know windows quite well, you can put one or both legs into the air. As we know, having the legs in the air, forcing the core muscles to hold our back in neutral, allows our core muscles to get a good workout. It's reminding the brain to use our core to secure and stabilize our back whilst we're doing other things with the limbs. Windows specifically on the shoulders, it's strengthening all of the muscles around the shoulder joint, but particularly the rotator cuff muscles. Okay, melting down. If you do take the feet up, make sure you take them down one by one. We're going to roll up to seated now, come back up to standing, hence I've changed the camera angle again. So coming onto all fours then, I'd like your left hip to face the camera. You're going to bring your right foot forwards. Curl the left toes under, lift the knee up. Centre your feet in the middle of the mat. You've got your right toes facing forward, hips and shoulders, left toes facing the long edge of the mat. Arms out at shoulder height. So reaching right fingers over right toes. Lean over, take the hand to the shin or the thigh, and that top arm points up to the ceiling. Now take care with that shoulder. Don't overdo that arm, twist it backwards or anything, you'll damage your shoulder and neck. If it's too much to keep that arm lifted, then instead drop the arm behind your back and then press the shoulder back. It will allow the torso to be in the correct place without over challenging the shoulder and neck area. So keep the hips forwards, press your shoulders back, keep breathing, lengthening. Then we're going to drop the arm down, bend into that right knee, take the left knee to the floor behind you, left hand goes down as well, and then twist chest to thigh. And once again, notice the shoulders nice and flat. If you struggle through that, you can drop the arm behind your back. And you can see here that I've lifted my knee off the floor behind me as well. Totally up to you if you want to lift the knee up or keep it down on the floor. But we're twisting towards the right thigh. Now we're going into pigeon. So bend that right knee so the toes point backwards slightly. The knee is on the right hand side, the heel is on the left hand side. Take the elbows and hands nice and wide and relax your upper body down to the floor. Now for some this isn't suitable, and if that's you, you can sink over onto the right hand side, bend the knee. It makes it a much more comfortable position for those with any knee issues. You're still able to relax the upper body over the lower body and cause that stretch in the hip area on the right. Remember to breathe. Coming back up, stretch that leg out behind you. We're simply going to pivot to the other side. So ready to bring the left foot forwards. We've got that triangle first. So curl the toes under behind you, lift your knee up, make sure you feel secure. Your feet should be down the centre of your mat. Your hips, shoulders, and your right toes should be facing the long edge of the mat. Left toes facing the short edge, bottom tucked under, core muscles are switched on, both legs are straight. Again, reaching left fingers over the toes and then tilt. Take the hand to the shin or the thigh. And the arm lifts up for the ceiling. Again, look after the shoulder, see the distance between the neck and ear. You can drop that hand behind your back. It'll help you to put the shoulder in the right place, forcing the upper back muscles to do some work. If it's too much with that arm, of course, drop it down. Otherwise, reach for the sky. Horizontal position with this body, supporting your weight on your leg or letting that arm hang in front of you. Legs nice and strong. Okay, bending that left knee then. Sink the right knee to the floor. Right hand to the floor as well. Twist chest to thigh. Knee up off the floor behind you if you wish, or you can keep it down, and again you can drop the hand behind your back to look after the neck and shoulder area. But we are trying to twist towards the thigh. If you find that twist difficult, I might suggest putting the knee back down on the floor behind you. And then from here, once again, we're going into pigeon. So you need to fold that left knee. So the left knee is on the left hand side, but the left heel is over on the right hand side underneath your hips. Again, arms and elbows go wide. Allow your upper body to soften over that bent leg. And again, if it's too much, if you can't find the right position, and sink over onto the left hip, bend the right leg behind you. It just softens the stretch, still allows you to get a fabulous stretch in that outer hip. Soften through the upper body and breathe. Coming back up, we'll stretch that leg out behind us. And then we're going to go into a seated hamstring stretch. Feel free to sit on a cushion if you need to. We're simply going to stretch the legs out in front of us, reach our hands down the legs, wriggle our bottom a couple of times, holding on to the shins, the ankles. Some of you might be able to reach the feet, that's fine. But the idea is that you try and press the back of the knees down into the floor. Lengthen the muscles between your bottom and your heels. Remember to breathe. You'll get a nice long back stretch through this one as well. Gently walking the hands back up. Legs can be comfortable anyway. You're going to take those arms behind you now. Place the fingers, lift them up. Allow yourself a stretch across the chest and the shoulders. Drop the chin a fraction for this one. It does help to relieve the neck. And then finally, we're going to lay down on the floor. We're going to cross left leg over right. Right hand holds the left leg. Left arm reaches out to the left. Pull your legs and hips over to one side. Just allow the feet and the legs to maneuver into a comfortable position. But essentially, the legs go over to the right and the arm reaches to the left. Good deep stretch underneath the rib cage here. A nice stretch around the waist. Bring yourself back gently to the centre, and then we'll do the same to the other side. So this time the left hand pulls the right leg over. Both legs are likely to stay bent with this one, but if you need to jiggle and manoeuvre the legs into a more comfortable position, then do so. Right arm and eyes reach out to the right. Gorgeous stretch through the waist. And finally, just to allow you to relax after our session, we're going to do what's called the arm drop. I'd like you to lift your arms up, 10 fingers pointing up to the ceiling. We'll breathe in to prepare. As you exhale, collapse and drop the arms down to the floor by your sides. Once is sometimes enough. If not, let's repeat. Reaching up, breathe in and collapse. As the arms collapse, hopefully your mind, your muscles and your centre relaxes and softens into the floor, and you might like to enjoy a couple of moments of peaceful relaxation. Thanks everyone, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you another time. Take care, bye bye.